أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله والحمد حقه كما يستحقه حمدا كثيرا. وأعوذ به من شر نفسي إن النفس لأمارة بالسوء إلا ما رحم ربي. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين سيدنا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المطهرين المكرمين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في محكم كتابه الكريم وهو أحسن القائلين وأصدق الصادقين: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وبشر الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات أن لهم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار. آمنا بالله. صدق الله العلي العظيم. For the purification of the souls and the enlightenment of the hearts, and for the hastening of the reappearance of the awaited Saviour, Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu sharif, enlighten your souls and the atmosphere with the recitation of salawat upon Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Respected elders, brothers and sisters, Salamun alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's a place of optimum peace and tranquility, a place or a location desired by each and every human being, one that involves joy, happiness and success at all times. Jannah or paradise is a location that is the destination, the aim and the goal of each and every human being. You'll find that when it comes to the discussion surrounding paradise, when it comes to people talking about Jannah, it brings a sense of joy in their hearts. Of course, it's a place that they imagine to have everything that any human being would desire to have or indeed imagine. And indeed, the discussion surrounding Jannah is not restricted to the religion of Islam or the Holy Quran. You'll find that other religions have discussed paradise, but of course to a much lesser scale or reference. When you look at Christianity, Judaism, when you look at Buddhism and Hinduism, all these religions, they come forward and discuss paradise in a particular way. Yet they never come close to the discussion when it comes to the religion of Islam. Likewise, you find that sometimes heaven or paradise is a subject of certain movies. The Hollywood movie that is produced, the heaven above, or for example in 2014 a number of movies that were produced that somehow give an individual an idea about what paradise is and what to expect in paradise and so on and so forth. At the same time, you find the subject of paradise and Jannah is one that people refer to when it comes to humor. I find that once an individual said that once an individual passed away and died. And when he died, he was met at the angel at the gate of their heaven. The angel said, in order for you to enter heaven, you must spell a word. He said, what shall I spell? He said, you must spell the word love, L-O-V-E. He said, you are welcome to enter. As soon as he entered paradise, the angel said to him that you must guard paradise for a short while because I'm not able to do so. When he was guarding the gate of the paradise, all of a sudden he saw his wife approaching. He said to her, what are you doing here? She said, when we went to bury you in the funeral, on the way back I had an accident and I died. Therefore I've come here. He said, you know, to enter paradise you must spell a word. She said, yes, no problem. He said, spell Czechoslovakia. The idea being is what? That heaven and paradise is referred to in many instances. Yet when it comes to the religion of Islam, and specifically the Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions this particular element or this dimension 147 times. Jannah is referred to in the Quran with its various derivatives in that particular number. 115 times of this 147 is in reference to Jannatul Akhirah, the paradise that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised for the righteous. Yet also there is reference to the Jannah of Prophet Adam. There is the reference to Jannatul Barzakh. There is also a reference to Jannatul Dunya. Meaning what? In Arabic, Jannah is garden. It's from the Arabic word which is to conceal something, or that which is hidden, jinn, yes? Which highlights to us that paradise in reality is what? Is something that people are not be able to comprehend or understand fully. So we find that the question people ask is, the whole description of Jannah in the Quran, is it metaphorical or is it literal? Meaning that we find so many different descriptions of paradise in the Holy Book. Can this be taken literally or is it metaphorically? Of course, the response is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that you and I would like to work to something that we can somehow imagine, or some indication is given to us. Meaning that there is a need for the human being to be motivated. There is a need for the human being to see this destination, to see this goal, to see this eternal place of abode. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as the Bari, as the creator, as the Khaliq, He knows that you and I are driven, are motivated, are inspired by descriptions of Jannah that enables us to work hard to get to it. However, when it comes to the Quran itself, He subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran that this paradise, whatever the description in the Quran and in Hadith, because I found at least 1,000 hadith on the description and the details associated with paradise. At least 1,000. And there are 147 verses. So you find an extensive analysis or presentation of the details regarding paradise, isn't it? Yet the Quran comes forward and says in chapter 43 verse 71, وَفِيهَا مَا تَشْتَهِيهِ الْأَنفُسِ وَتَلَذُّ الْأَعْيُنِ. In paradise you find whatever the soul desires and the eyes looks for. And that's hence the Holy Prophet of Islam, Rasul al-Azam Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, elaborates further on this and says, in paradise, what do we find? ما لا عين رأت ولا أذن سمعت ولا خطر على قلب بشر. In Jannah, the eyes have not seen, the ears have not heard, or the mind has never comprehended and will not comprehend what human beings will find in paradise. It's something altogether phenomenal, isn't it? That indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala projects the beautiful image about paradise, but the reality is what? Is much more extensive. That's why we are told that the Prophet of Islam in a famous narration says, لَشِبْرٌ فِي الْجَنَّةِ خَيْرٌ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا وَمَا فِيهَا. 1 inch of Jannah is better than the entire earth and whatever's in it. 1 inch in paradise. Yes? Just to get an idea of the delicate, important subject that is what? That is paradise. Of course, when it comes to the human being, certainly ones reflecting on the Holy Quran and those who contemplate on the narrations of the Ahl al-Bayt, there is a need for us to draw a very interesting, good image of Jannah in order for us indeed to be motivated. Let's look at a few examples before looking at Ayah 25 of Surah Al-Baqarah, which discusses paradise. When it comes to paradise, the first thing that, for example, we understand is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, you and I must be eager and must seek it continuously. وَسَارِعُوا إِلَى مَغْفِرَةٍ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ وَجَنَّةٍ عَرْضُهَا السَّمَاوَاتُ وَالْأَرْضُ. Allah says, compete with each other in order to attain this paradise. The dimensions of it is the earth and the heavens combined together. أُعِدَّتْ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. It is prepared for the God conscious. Yes, that's the first realization, that it is a vast place. Second, when it comes to entry to Jannah, the human being is greeted by the malaika. الذين تتوفاهم الملائكة طيبين يقولون سلام عليكم. That the malaika, what? As the creations of God which welcome those who have been bestowed by the Almighty subhanahu wa ta'ala with paradise, greet the men and the women of Jannah. That's why we find a beautiful hadith from the Ahl al-Bayt that says, when an individual, when a human being, when the mu'min enters paradise, they receive a letter from the Almighty subhanahu wa ta'ala. How is this letter? A literal letter or something else? Allah knows best. But the letter says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. من الحي الذي لا يموت إلى الحي الذي لا يموت. From the being that does not taste death to the being that shall no longer taste death. أنا الذي أقول لشيء كن فيكون. I am the one who says to things be and it becomes. Now I give you the power to say to things be and it becomes. As the individual what? Enters Jannah. That's what? That's one. The other thing that people often discuss is with regards to the clothing, for example, of the people of paradise. We are told the clothing is one which is made out of silk, which is indeed full of gold and emerald and ruby. We are told that the earth of Jannah smells of musk. The palaces of paradise is entirely made out of gold and what? And all the pleasures that the human being wishes to associate. The Quran says, يُحَلَّوْنَ فِيهَا مِنْ أَسَاوِرَ مِنْ ذَهَبٍ وَلُؤْلُؤًا وَلِبَاسُهُمْ فِيهَا حَرِيرٌ. That they will be encapsulated with clothing full of gold, full of pearls, and what? And silk. Yes, that is an indication. People ask, what about food? Food is important, isn't it? People want to know what is the situation with regards to the food of the people of heaven. Needless to say that the narration of the Prophet of Islam and the Ahl al-Bayt, which promises the human being anything that comes to their mind will become manifested, is enough for the human being. Yet the Quran and the riwayat tell us some details with regards to the food. The Holy Prophet of Islam, peace and blessings be upon him and his holy progeny, he says what? In a narration, he says in Jannah, when an individual is eating something and all of a sudden they think about another food that they desire, that food that they desire immediately becomes the food that they are chewing. The food that they are chewing switches and turns to the food that they desire to eat. Yes? Likewise, in a narration, we are told that in paradise, the mu'mineen, the people of Jannah are walking. They see birds flying. All of a sudden, they question, they ask, how do these birds taste like? At that moment, immediately the bird is cooked in front of them, ready. No need for ovens or microwave. Yes, immediately is cooked. But interestingly, in the hadith of the Ma'sumin, it is said that because they had a question regarding how it is cooked or what is the taste of it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cooks the bird or presents the bird to them in two different ways. In today's terminology, perhaps, half of it is oven baked and the other half is fried. I know this is a difficult subject when you and I are fasting. But anyway, so the idea is that the human being starts to eat from the bird as soon as, because there is no boredom in Jannah, there is no excrement in Jannah, there is no night and day in Jannah, there is no sleep in Jannah, there is no necessity or ibadah or obligatory actions in Jannah. Yes, as soon as the human being does not wish to eat anymore, that individual does not wish to eat anymore, the bird immediately flies away and joins the other birds, the same bird that was cooked, and starts to speak and says, who is like me and a servant of God has eaten from me. Yes, in order to demonstrate that the dimension of paradise that for many human beings is what? Is something else altogether. Likewise, people say, what about the time? How do we spend the time there? You know, is it we play PlayStation all day? You know, what happens there? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, it's a beautiful description that we find in numerous verses in the Holy Quran, that Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala says, first of all, as far as the people of Jannah, none of them have any hatred whatsoever to anyone else. وَنَزَعْنَا مَا فِي صُدُورِهِمْ مِنْ غِلٍّ إِخْوَانًا. Everybody will be brothers and sisters. full of love and compassion to each other. Yes, that was in chapter 7, verse 43. Likewise, Allah says, chapter 78, verse 35, لا يسمعون فيها لغوا ولا كذابا إلا قيلا سلاما salama. All that they greet with each other is peace. All that they speak about is gentle, is things which brings happiness to their heart. دعواهم فيها سبحانك اللهم وتحيتهم فيها سلام. Chapter 10, Surah Yunus, verse number 10. That the conversations are all what? With regards to things which indeed denote some form of tranquility, some form of happiness and joy. Therefore, we find that when it comes to this, the Quran tells us about Jannah extensively. The Hadith tells us Jannah has what? Has 7 gates. Or 8 gates rather. Jahannam has 7. Yes, one of the gates of Jannah is called Rayyan, according to the Hadith. And this is reserved for those who fast during the month of Ramadan. Who observe the fast during the month of Ramadan, they are what? They are allowed to enter from this particular gate. We have a beautiful hadith from the Holy Prophet of Islam, Rasulullah A'zam Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. With regards to how people spend their time in Jannah, of course, whatever they desire, whatever they wish to have, they will obtain. Yet this is one projection. The Prophet of Islam is narrated to have said, إِذَا اسْتَقَرَّ أَهْلُ الْجَنَّةِ اشْتَاقَ الْإِخْوَانُ إِلَى الْإِخْوَانِ. That when the people of Jannah are settled, they will start to look for their brothers, people of their friends in dunya. فَيَلْتَقِيَانِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes them find each other. فَيَتَحَدَّثَانِ مَا كَانَ بَيْنَهُمَا فِي الدُّنْيَا. They start talking about what happened in dunya. They start to remember. Yes? وَيَقُول. One of them will say, يَا أَخِي تَذَكَّرْ كُنَّا فِي دَارِ الدُّنْيَا فِي مَجْلِسِ كَذَا. Oh brother, do you remember we were sitting together in a particular majlis? Yes? فَدَعَوْنَا اللَّهَ فَغَفَرَ لَنَا. Do you remember we were sitting together, or we were sitting in a place where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is remembered? Yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's name is exalted, and we supplicated to Allah. Do you remember? This is the result. He has forgiven us, and He has given us indeed what? Indeed paradise. Therefore, there are so many of these verses that give incredible hope, incredible inspiration, and encourage the human being and motivate them to work hard in order to attain paradise. And one of them is in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse number 25. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَبَشِّرِ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ أَنَّ لَهُمْ جَنَّاتٍ تَجْرِي مِنْ تَحْتِهَا الْأَنْهَارِ. Give glad tidings to those who are believers and indeed place Iman alongside good deeds. In other words, it is of great importance that the individual does not only merely focus on what? On as just Iman or necessarily good deeds, but both together. That Allah says, أَنَّ لَهُمْ جَنَّاتٍ تَجْرِي مِنْ تَحْتِهَا الْأَنْهَارِ. These are glad tidings that they will attain paradise underneath which flow rivers. Here, there is an interesting point. Is it that these palaces in Jannah underneath which rivers flow, or does it mean something else? Of course, in the Quran we are told that there are many rivers. There are rivers of milk. There are rivers of honey. I remember speaking to youngsters about this. They were not very interested. One of them said, honey I can buy from Asda. I don't need a river of honey. I said, no problem. What do you like? What do you like to normally drink? He said, Coca-Cola. I said, no problem. You can have river of Coca-Cola. Whatever river that you like. This is an example that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving. Yes? Now the idea is, some Mufassirin have come forward and said what? They have said these rivers, the underneath part, min tahtihim al-anhar, refers to the idea that they are the malik of it, the owners of it. When somebody says that it's something that I own, that I am in control of, yes? The idea that this is an indication that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I give it to you and it is what? You are the owner of it. You are the owner of these rivers. Yes? That all kinds of things flow for the enjoyment or for the benefit And hence you find the Quran goes on to say, كُلَّمَا رِزِقُوا مِنْهَا مِنْ ثَمَرَةٍ رِزْقًا قَالُوا هَذَا الَّذِي رُزِقْنَا مِنْ قَبْلِ. This is a very important point, and one that requires some kind of reflection and contemplation. What does this mean? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, every time they have been bestowed with fruits, they say, we somehow have knowledge of this. We were given these fruits before. When it comes to the Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about the fruits of Jannah in numerous places. You find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for example, talking about what? Talking about rumman, yes? فِيهَا فَاكِهَةٌ وَنَخْلٌ وَرُمَّانٌ. Yes, that the idea is that pomegranate is mentioned in the Quran as one of the fruits of Jannah. Likewise, إِنَّ الْمُتَّقِينَ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ مَفَازًا حَدَائِقَ وَأَعْنَابًا. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala says that for the righteous, God-fearing, God-conscious, there are gardens. And these gardens contain much grapes. So at least grapes and pomegranate are two fruits that have been somehow referred to in the Holy Quran. But the question is, when Allah says these individuals in Jannah, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us all of the inhabitants of paradise. When they say, we have been presented with fruits and somehow we have some association with them from the past, what does it mean? The first group of ulama, they come forward and say, this is in reference to the fact that they will see these fruits, the fruits will resemble the fruits of dunya. Meaning, they will see apples, they will see oranges, they will see bananas, yes? And they say, we remember having these in the previous existence, in the previous life. Yet of course, the beauty and the taste and the dimensions of these fruits is another level when it comes to Jannah. No doubt about that, yes? So some say that is what the meaning is of the ayah. Others say no, this is in reference to Alam al-Barzakh, that they were given special fruits in Barzakh, in the intermediary life, and now they say yes, this is what we were given in that realm, not dunya, because how can you equate what is being given in dunya and in akhirah? That's another. But a third group comes forward and says, and has a very interesting opinion. It's very much supported in the Holy Quran. This is shared by Allama and a few other mufassirin. They say this is in reference to the aqidah and the belief that we have, which is known as tajsimul a'mal, the manifestation of deeds. They say, you know, when you and I work hard, we say this is the fruits of our actions, yes? Or we say this action was fruitful, which means it produced some reward. It produced some positive outcome. They say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is a deeper meaning. This is a deeper reflection on the ayah. Yes? They say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says when these individuals see the fruits of their actions, meaning what? Meaning that they see the result of the deeds that they performed in dunya. They see the salah, they see the sawm, they see the hajj, they see the sadaqah, they witness the respect to the parents, they witness the truthfulness that they uttered. This becomes manifested before them, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creates it in a way which gives them powerful enjoyment for them to see. In which way? They say the more devotion they had to these deeds, the more enjoyment they have when they see them manifested in Jannah. The more association they have with these particular acts of worship, the more profound the sweetness of what? These actions that is presented to them that give them some kind of joy. Let me give you an example. Our holy sixth Imam, Imam Ja'far ibn Muhammad Al-Sadiq, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, was once asked by an individual, Yabna Rasulullah, according to a narration, I want you to pray to Allah to make me with you in Jannah. Oh Imam, I want you to raise me with you in Jannah. Imam responds, he says, I will ask Allah to keep you in Jannah. This man said, Yabna Rasulullah is probably thinking, you know, I'm not in Jannah. I have a lot of hardship. I'm going through challenges, difficulties, calamities and bala in dunya. How can I be in Jannah? He responds to the Imam. He says, how, Ya ibn Rasulillah? Imam says, wilayatuna hiyal jannah. Our wilayah in reality is jannah, is paradise. This wilayah in its true association is what is paradise, and it is what manifested currently. Every action that you and I do, indeed, it is created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as you and I perform it. Yes? In paradise. This is what is known as Tatsimul A'mal. That's why Holy Sixth Imam, also a narration that when the believer dies, they are surrounded in their qabr with a few creations of Allah. On their right is a creation that protects them. On their left is a creation that protects them. On their feet, next to their head. But there is a creation more powerful that supervises all the others. And he looks at the right and says, what are you? It says, I am the salah that you looked after me. Therefore now in the journey of barzakh, I will look after you. He looks on the left, says, I am fasting. Looks underneath and he says, it's a hajj. Next to his head, salatul raham, the enjoining of relations, good relations with the family. Then he asks, this creation of Allah, which is better and superior, what is your role? As in, who are you? The response would be, أنا الولاية لمحمد وآل محمد. Therefore, we find that that is what? A more profound understanding of this idea that وَأُتُوا بِهِ مُتَشَابِهًا, that it was presented to them, but it's as if they had some association with it, some link, some bond with it, where in dunya. The verse continues and says, وَلَهُمْ فِيهَا أَزْوَاجٌ مُطَهَّرًا, and they have pure spouses, or husbands or wife, because azwaj in Arabic refers to both males and females. And here, of course, the discussion is with regards to Hur al-Ain, a matter that unfortunately today in the media has been misinterpreted because of these individuals who have hijacked the name of religion of Islam, yes, and they go blow themselves up, killing innocent civilians, and they say there are 72 virgins waiting for us and things like this, which has no particular understanding or correct application. The Quran comes forward and tells us about Hur al-Ain. When you and I recite Dua al-Iftitah, isn't it? There is an addition to Dua al-Iftitah, yes, that we recite, and it has much reference to paradise, and it has what this particular part in it, that I remember once sitting with a group of mu'mineen, and they were reciting Dua al-Iftitah, and as soon as it came to this part, reciting like this, وَمِنَ الْحُورِ الْعِينِ بِرَحْمَتِكَ فَزَوِّجْنَا, all of a sudden this brother he forgot that he was in public, raised his hands and said, Ya Allah, 3 times. In that way, you know. So it is a desire for many people. They come forward and say, this idea in the Quran, and that said what? It says, وَلَهُمْ أَزْوَاجٌ مُطَهَّرًا. But there is a question here, without going into depth as to this idea of Hur al-Ain, that indeed the Holy Prophet of Islam is narrated to have been asked, which is better, Hur al-Ain or Nisa al-Dunya? Who are better? Who have a higher status? The Prophet of Islam says, in Jannah, the believing women have a higher status than Hur al-Ain, because they obeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They went through hardship. They performed the salah. They performed the siyam. And therefore Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raises them. And they have much more superior qualities than what? Than Hur al-Ain. But the question people ask is, what about our sisters, the ladies, when they supplicate and they say, وَمِنَ الْحُورِ الْعِينِ بِرَحْمَتِكَ فَزَوِّجْنَا? Is there Hur al-Ain for ladies too? Or is it for men? Some people might find this uncomfortable, but it's a theological, academic discussion, yes? People ask this question. Very briefly as time is over. The first opinion that is presented is no. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created the female with the desire to be only with one individual. With a male only, yes? With one, not many, yes? And therefore, because there'll be so much joy and so much tranquility and whatever they desire in Jannah, they'll be satisfied because intrinsically they're being created with a male only. That's the first opinion. The second opinion, no, they have this wildanul mukhalladun. So the wildanul mukhalladun are like the Hur al-Ain for the males. And the third opinion, which is rather strange but exists, and that is the genders in Jannah are not the same as dunya. It is not males and females. Therefore, it will be a kind of a gender that all will enjoy. Some kind of what? Hur al-Ain. These are the different theories that have been presented and have been discussed in matter in many places. But ulama have come forward and said, even if we take the first opinion, which is the most popular. They say when it comes to our ladies, they are supplicating for general, yes, for the general community. It does not necessarily mean only for what? For themselves. And that's a realization that the Quran indeed projects. And that's why you find the subject of paradise is truly extensive and vast. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you and I to work extensively, especially in the month of Ramadan, to supplicate to Allah and to ask Him to make us of the people of heaven, and indeed to forgive our sins and to raise us with the Holy Prophet and his Ahl al-Bayt. Yes. Finally, we are told, as far as the spiritual tip of the day is concerned, with regards to paradise, that one day the Prophet of Islam passed by an individual who was building a wall. He was working hard to build a wall. He said to him, "Shall I tell you of something which if you do, you will build much more powerful and longer lasting walls?" He says, "Yes, Ya Rasulullah." He said to him, "Say every morning and every night, Subhanallah, walhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wallahu akbar." When you say this, every time you say this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands the angels to plant for you 10 trees in Jannah. And this will what? Will accumulate and will result in what? Will result in palaces. At that moment, that individual who was so inspired by this said, "Ya Rasulullah, this wall that I have built, now I will donate it for the sake of Allah to the poor and the needy." This beautiful dhikr to be recited all the time. And the Prophet of Islam himself saw in the journey of Mi'raj the Malaika building these palaces. And he asked them, "What is it that you use? What are the bricks of gold that you use?" They said, "We wait from dunya." When the believer says, Subhanallah, walhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wallahu akbar. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala build for each and every one of us countless palaces in Jannah. Wa akhiru da'wana an alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wa salli Allahumma ala Muhammad wa alihi at-tahirin.